Shadow Generations isn't a game about revisiting the past. It's about conquering it. It's been a while since I've made a Sonic video, but honestly, this was not the game I expected to make a video on. Realistically, the last time I talked about a mainline Sonic game was in 2017 with Sonic Forces, which had its own Shadow campaign with 3 reused stages, 1 cutscene, and was barely worth mentioning. I didn't even mention it in my video. I ended that video with the series needing more passion in a new direction. And now, all those years later, Sonic Team finally got the message, but Sega needed it itself. We finally got the Sonic movie, its sequel, its 3rd movie, and a 4th one is on the way. So the Sonic franchise is even more popular than ever now. Furthermore, 2022 saw the release of Sonic Frontiers, a bold new direction for the series which was experimental in its approach to the Sonic formula. Open zones, combat, leveling up, different story directions, and writers. Just a ton of stuff that I never even bothered covering. This series has progressed without me. So when Sonic X Shadow Generations was announced, my thought was, oh my god, it was just gonna be Sonic Generations with another Shadow campaign that's 3 stages long. However, when you actually looked into it, it's a follow-up of the 2005 video game Shadow the Hedgehog. Believe it or not, Sonic Adventure wasn't my first 3D Sonic game. That honor goes to Shadow the Hedgehog. Other than the classics, Shadow was my ground zero for the series. It was the most recent title of when I got into Sonic, and the advertising was so sick that I needed it. So I know his story by heart, and it did get wrapped up with him leaving the past behind him by destroying Double Doom and leaving the arc with the memories of Maria and Gerald Robotnik. And that was the case. Nothing close to that story was referenced in future games. Shadow would be there, but that's just about it. He was just an anti-hero Sonic, a pale imitation of what he once was. It's almost like the writers had nothing to do with him, and he was just there to be there for fan service. And it was like that for around 17 years. People loved the character, but things changed. Years pass, and now instead of being a passionate college student talking about Sonic the Hedgehog with games you played on release back when you were a child, you're in your late 20s with a job, struggling with a daily grind trying to release a video. This helps others forget why Shadow was such a cool and complex character. And revisionism starts to happen, where people were thinking that that original game from 2005 should be forgotten about, when it was building on 4 years of storytelling, reaching its climax. So, what's a perfect way to reintroduce Shadow to a new generation? By giving him his own generation's game. And how does Sonic Team of today do that? Shadow, as the antithesis of Sonic, can be put in the boost formula. This has been done in the past, with that only serving as a skin for Sonic. But when you build your own game around it, Shadow has many different abilities to distinguish himself from the blue blur. Shadow is known to have the Chaos Control ability, which can stop time for 5 seconds within that gameplay formula. Doing so freezes projectiles, enemies, objects, and hazards. This can be done to find alternate pathways in the level, discover or freeze platforms by stop time, or the timer itself can be frozen to remove 5 seconds off of it. The Chaos Spear is also present to stun enemies to lower defenses or disable abilities. These are well-known abilities for Shadow, but what if you curse him with the abilities of the Black Arms? You get the Doom powers. As the game progresses, you get access to the Doom powers, and each level builds upon the granted powers by implementing them in some way, shape, or form. These Doom powers allow the game to have different enemy types with multiple flying enemies, armored enemies, and even the Black Arms are back, which Shadow would have to take out with more powerful combat abilities. This isn't like the thoughtful combat in a game like Frontiers. Shadow can just beat the heck out of them and then launch an alien to Kingdom Come with a stronger homing attack. The Doom powers enhance the Chaos Spear. They also allow for more combat abilities, you can surf along the water, and you can become a Doom creature who can traverse along corruption. You unlock these abilities when you beat stages, and the stages also play with a generational aspect with Black Doom. When it comes to level design, One of the most annoying design decisions for boost games have been making levels hybrid 3D 2D. And now, in this game, Act 1 is fully 3D, and then the Act 2 stage is 2D platforming. But in certain Act 1 stages, there will always be a point where Black Doom interferes and shapeshifts the stage into a modified version of a familiar stage. These segments are awesome. They're animated beautifully and are a far cry from the set pieces they tried to have 7 years ago with Sonic Forces. This all occurs with detailed animation, smart uses of assets, and not having to pause the experience when it happens. What I'm trying to say is that 7 years ago, this is what the Phantom Ruby from Sonic Forces should have done. When you have been working on boost formula games in a post-Frontiers world, this kind of redo and improvement is seen across the board. This also applies to the hub space as well. White space has also improved, just by the fact it's in 3D as an open zone. This calls back to Frontiers design, while in that game, the world itself was explorable. Here in Shadow Generations, we see how that concept is done with Shadow, as the zone is your hub for all the levels, unlockables, challenges, and other side quests. I'm gonna be honest, white space in the original Sonic Generations wasn't great. It was 2D, there was barely much design done with it, and the challenges were too many without any depth. Just, oh cool, this character has a challenge. Even so, while you are forced to do every challenge in Shadow's white space to progress, they are fun by doubling down on the mechanics introduced in stages, and you're always itching for that S rank that you want to do it over and over again until you get it. The boss fights are previous villains that Shadow has fought and encountered, and of course, each Doom power is implemented in their boss fight. With the Bio Lizard utilizing bubbles that you take him out with Doom spheres. Wait a minute. Is it spears or spheres? Oh well. Or Metal Overlord's fight taking place in the water with Doomsir. Each boss fight is recontextualized for Shadow himself, and it shows that the series now has stronger lore building. Mephiles the Dark appears as a boss fight as well, and it isn't a fight about how he's reuniting with Shadow, he's rather wanting to exist because due to the events of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, that story was wiped from the canon of the series. In the end, you feel sorry for him, because at the same time, imagine if you were considered non-canon. No! You exist!
There is no future for you. Ever.
The stage selection picks games and environments Shadow has gone through. Well, except the last one. It's pretty cool to see Generation 5 stages that isn't just Green Hill, Bright and Sunshine. First off, the game starts off with one of the best first stages in a Sonic game with the Space Colony art, with the remix of Final Rush by Teddy Lloyd! We also have stages like Rail Canyon from Sonic Heroes, or Sunset Heist from Forces, or even the skylines of Kingdom Valley and Chaos Island. Seeing a stage like Sunset Heights being revisited really puts games like Forces into perspective. Seeing the concept of those places be given another take, and you get one of the best modern Sonic stages in history, with so much variety and choices, cool set pieces, and even a rainy Act 2 that grants a new take on the environment that hasn't been explored. It feels like my prayers were answered from Sonic Team back in 2017 to find passion in a new direction, and they looked at the concept art for Forces and went, yes, this could have been better. We want to show you what we could have done with this. And Sonic Team is telling us we can do this. And that even comes to making this a follow-up to 2005 Shadow the Hedgehog. Back in 2005, Shadow decided that he wanted to put the past behind him, and followed suit by destroying Black Doom and the Black Comet, and therefore forgot about his past as well. He realized that the past shouldn't define him, and forcefully throws away the last memory of it. That life is over, so he keeps moving forward. Before the game begins, we see that even though Shadow has thrown away his memory, his past still haunts him. Before you play Shadow Generations, it's highly recommended that you watch the prequel animation Dark Beginnings. This animation is fantastic, and it's why I'm including this analysis in this video, because it ties into the game and Shadow as a whole. We see that Shadow still dreams about the past and what could have been, reminiscing on him and Maria seeing the northern lights from space. Even in this dream, he recompenses that she's not cured yet. This shows that Shadow still carries guilt because he wanted her to have a chance to live, even before her demise, in which that demise led to a dark path due to Gerald's decisions. Despite that, Maria cherishes every moment they spent together. She was his light, and she never forgot about her shadow. And not everyone saw that. Abraham Tower loved Maria as well, but he couldn't see that Shadow was also deserving of love, and in doing so, blamed Shadow for his life on the Ark being taken away from him, holding onto that grudge for 50 years. And when he got the chance to confront it, his new life was saved by the person who he thought took away his old one. When we apply that to the present day, Tower spared no expense to get Shadow on the Ark. You can see that Tower is trying to be open with Shadow by trying to consider him family and building that bridge and being supportive of him. He's one of the few people from his old life that he has left, and who reminds him of Maria. The implication is vice versa, but the feeling isn't mutual. It's because deep down, Shadow still longs for his old life. He wishes that he could go back and let Maria live the life she was promised, being able to see the earth for the beauty it has, and to see her happy just one last time. The song Without You, sung by vocalist Casey Lee Williams, that plays over the scene, exemplifies that feeling. It's written in the lyrics. As Shadow investigates his mission during Sonic's birthday party, you know he did that to get out of it, he finds that Black Doom has returned, and due to the Time Eater messing around with space-time, he finds himself in white space. This isn't just some happy honky-dory, hey, let's see my past chubby shelf and have a grand old adventure. Shadow is haunted by his past, and in turn, his past wants to take control of him and use him as a vessel to escape and wreak havoc. But this quest for conquering Black Doom comes to a turn when Shadow, after 50 long years, gets to reunite with Maria. He is shocked to see them here, but also while he doesn't show it, he's excited. His immediate thought is trying to figure out how to change their fate. Shadow said he put the past behind him, but here comes the past, and here he is, longing for it. Shadow is constantly reminded of not initially fulfilling Maria's promise. Black Doom uses this to his advantage by reminding him of who he is, by teleporting him back to Radical Highway. The significance of this stage is where Shadow was mentally when he originally roamed through these streets. Awoken, broken, angry, and wants to carry out one mission.
I promise you, revenge!
That's the Shadow Black Doom wants to take control of. Not the amnesiac confused one who hated and longed to bring destruction and suffering to mankind. Despite this, the modern day Shadow looks upon his enemies with confidence. Even while Black Doom is constantly reminding him of his misgiving, Shadow still spits back in his face, knowing he can beat him. He did it once, and he'll do it again. The production quality in these cutscenes have really gone up. Like back in 2017, we had the most awful looking war with the same 4 dudes in barely any detail and these awful looking animations. Now look as Shadow just smoothly moves across the screen and kicks a lot of ass. Same goes for the dialogue. Black Doom calls Shadow a warrior and destroyer. Look how he responds.
Yes, the warrior that will destroy you.
It's such a badass line, but it means more in the following dialogue. Funny thing is, Black Doom does get in Shadow's head by just saying he learned from his mistakes. And that probably would have been the point where Doom would have taken control of him. However, one person was there to talk him down. As much as people get on Ian Flynn as a writer, sometimes a subtle reference works very well when done right. Maria's response to this answers the question, what if Maria was there for the events of Shadow the Hedgehog? How would she react to seeing Shadow like this? Well, this game gives us the answer.
It breaks my heart to see you so full of anger. This isn't who you are.
The last line of every single ending of Shadow the Hedgehog. This is who I am. In a game where Shadow was confused about who he was, in the moment, he was regressing to that. He twisted Black Doom's words within himself, but those words were built on anger. Shadow, in that moment, saw himself as the weapon that would destroy Black Doom. But Maria was there to remind him who he is. This even ties back to his characterization in Sonic Adventure 2. Even when he thought he was fulfilling Maria's promise, he never doubted himself. When Rouge questions him about whether he's the ultimate life form or whether his memories are real, he responds,
Even if my memories are not real, it's still me, Shadow, and I will fulfill my promise to Maria. That's the only thing that matters to me now.
and it's because Maria gave him that name.
Do you know why I named you Shadow? Because without light, there's only darkness. But a shadow will show you where to find the light. Do you understand? I don't want you to be driven by darkness. I want you to be happy. Stand in the light with peace in your heart.
When Shadow finally regains the Doom Wings and completes his form, it's not an uncontrollable burst of limited power. His aura is golden, showing that he's able to control the dark energy inside him and use that as a light to see in the darkness. There are only a few words Gerald gets to say to him, but these are words that he's been needing to hear for over 50 years. Maria wants to say something, but this is the first time in 50 years where Shadow gets to comfort her instead.
Fight with your wish in my heart. Your wish for everyone to have a chance to be happy.
He lets go of his anger, regains who he is, and fulfills Maria's promise to give people a chance to be happy. And in the end, that makes him happy as well. This is where Shadow lets go of his past. It isn't by forcefully throwing it away to forget about it, it's by keeping the things he cherishes most in his heart and using that to fight for a brighter future.
I'll overcome every obstacle with this power.
Shadow confronts Black Doom. No anger, no vengeance, just ready to finally sever the bond that he has with him. The battle with Devil Doom incorporates the Doom abilities into the cycles well, by starting off with the Doom Serve, then transitioning to Doom Morph platforming. It's also hard to believe that in 2024 that we be getting a new boss fight for Devil Doom. And then we get an all-new form for him called Neo Devil Doom. I assume this is what Doom meant when he said that he had learned from his mistakes. However, this doesn't last long at all. He can talk all this crap about how he's gonna take over Shadow's body as a vessel, or how happy he is that Shadow took to this ability. Black Doom's biggest mistake was confronting Shadow the Hedgehog. Neo Devil Doom's fight introduces an orchestrated version of the vocal track All Hail Shadow, remixed by Crush 40 again. It is absolutely electrifying as a final boss theme.
All hail Shadow, heroes rise again.
Because it's not Doom's boss theme, it's Shadow's. Shadow has finally conquered his past, is obliterating everything that isn't his friend. Nothing can stop him now. No ghost can bring him down. There's nothing left to lose. You win, Shadow. He's beaten Doom before, and he'll do it all over again. No Chaos Emeralds needed with the power he idiotically gave him. Now bow your head low, Black Doom. And in one last-ditch effort, this buffoon, this absolute fraud, uses chaos control. Oh, crazy, it's not like I've ever seen that before. He starts speaking in absolutes, and before he even finishes his sentence, Shadow's like, "Get that weak shit out of here!" At the end of the day, Black Doom is still confused about why at this point, Shadow is denying him. But it's crystal clear why, if he was paying attention throughout this video. Shadow chose his own destiny. No longer is he using a misremembered promise as an excuse for vengeance, or figuring out the 10 different ways he could say who he is. He is Shadow the Hedgehog.
I am Shadow the Hedgehog. This is the destiny I choose. Now, to end this!
I crafted everything up till now, and yet you deny me! Shadow,
As Shadow's white space in time starts to repair due to the defeat of Black Doom, everything goes back to normal. Or how it was before Sonic confronts the Time Eater. But this also means that Maria and Gerald are also returning to their time. And in a haste, Shadow tries to figure out how to save them. He wants them to stay, to have another chance at life. But Maria denies this request.
I'll stop Rouge. Use Chaos Control. Stop this moment in time.
Shadow? No.
Because no matter what happens, she will always remain in his heart.
I know I'll see you again. And if fate draws us apart, I will always be in your heart.
Maria.
In Shadow Generations, Maria and Gerald are wonderful characters. We finally get the chance to just talk to them, interact with them, see how they would react if they were in white space as well, like back in Sonic Generations. But in this game, we only get a short time with them. The game's only 5 hours, and they're in there for like maybe 2 of those hours. But honestly, I feel that the fact they get to interact with Shadow in such a short time portrays their relationship more clearly. Shadow, throughout the entire game, wants them to last forever. He's still bargaining with time for them to be able to stay with him. But even though Shadow has done the impossible, this isn't the right thing to do. That is the feeling that they wanted to invoke upon the player. We did want more time with Maria and Gerald, and so does Shadow. And it's even more heartbreaking that his time with them is so short. Even though he saved the world, he couldn't save them again. But this time, they didn't want to be saved. At least Shadow can rest easy, knowing he made the right choice. And then he shows up in the final boss of Sonic Generations to say this.
On your feet.
Hey, that's not what he said. And there's one more thing I would like to add. I know it's very short, but I still wanted to analyze it. There was an extended ending to the PlayStation versions of Dark Beginnings. This is important to talk about because, in context, it takes place after the game's events. Maria talks about how excited she is to learn about Earth when she finally arrives. In Remembrance, Shadow questions this out of fear. He knows he can't be open to others like she is. But Maria retorts this.
I believe in you. With your courage, you can do anything. And if you ever have trouble, you can always count on me to help you.
Maria will forever be in his heart and live on through him. So, the next time when someone asks who Shadow the Hedgehog is, there's so many things you can say, but personally, I think Sonic gave the right answer all the way back in 2001.
A brave and heroic hedgehog who gave his life to save this planet. Shadow the Hedgehog.
And also, Shadow the Hedgehog is so fucking cool! Holy shit, you know the fact we got a freaking Shadow game in 2024 and he's doing all this cool shit, and we also got the Doom Wings, he's like... We have shit like when he beats Mephiles, he doesn't just freaking kick him or anything like that. He takes all the Chaos Spears and all the clones and goes Chaos Control and goes... And they're gonna go boom! And then you got stages like Sunset Heights that starts off with that iconic theme, and it's like da 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 da, and you can tell they just locked the fuck in. This is Sonic Forces and they actually locked the fuck in. And then you get that whole animation when he's like dodging the freaking robots and he's like and he falls down. It's like, it's little things like that make it so freaking cool. And then you got Metal Sonic, and he's back, and then like his Neo Metal form, and he's all like, oh, Shadow, I copied your data, I am the ultimate life form. And then he's like surfing on the water. Of course, they did reuse some assets from Sonic Generations, like from Chemical Plant, but you know what, the Yakuza games have been reusing assets for like 15 years. Get over it, Sonic fans, shut up. And then Metal Sonic gets the freaking Rider Kick, and then it's like Sonic's referencing Tosasaku's like manga / anime stuff, you know, Kamen Rider, Dragon Ball, all this kind of stuff. We've been wanting this stuff for years. This is what Sonic is. It took you this long, but finally, you did it, Sonic Team. You finally did it. We got a Sonic game that's a 9 out of 10, rated by IG freaking N. IGN! Please, for the love of God, keep making good games. Keep doing crazy ideas. Keep letting Sonic be Sonic. This game is exactly what I've been asking for ever since 2017. While I wouldn't have minded classic Sonic to dominate the franchise and we get fantastic throwback titles, what I really wanted was a genuine attempt to continue what we lost back in 2009, where being genuine and telling a story for Sonic took center stage, and we get an attempt at what those games did with modern context and themes. I realized that Sonic has been a yearly franchise, and I've forgotten to cover a ton of crap. Well, I wanted to get back to that because I still feel I just woke up from a coma in 2017, becoming a genuine fan of the Blue Blur again. The last Sonic game I reviewed by myself was back in 2019, and that was more than 5 years ago. That's an eternity in YouTube years. Well, I got some catching up to do. I am SonicKick after all. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and Sega, thank you so much for listening to us.